So in the book, I have these, as most of you know, the golden rule, and this is what I've learned going to speak to people, is treat others the way you want to be treated yourself. And that's something that most all of us have learned. I think today, as we kind of realize that we all don't come from similar backgrounds and we don't all have similar circumstances, and it's the Me Too, it's women, men, it's all the things that we never consider because of cognitive biases and really epigenetics and things that have trained us to do things that are not good towards each other. Now I believe the platinum rule is required. Treat people the way they want to be treated. And that requires a conversation to actually have that. And then when I was writing the book, what I noticed with exponential leaders is, for the most part, they were doing that. They were thinking about, how do I think about people that don't look like me or don't think like me or are not part of my family or not part of my community? Because if they were going to be exponential and solve a problem so big, they had to think bigger than that. They started to become more conscious about other people and their perception. So they started to live into this platinum rule. But then I created something called the Rhodium rule, which, when you remember the periodic table of elements, Rhodium is actually the most expensive metal, and it's in the platinum family. And I say exponential leaders think about the entire ecosystem. And as much as I'm not going to play politics, I'm going to say this one thing is, I used to use Donald Trump as the person before he was president as someone that just thought big, regardless if you liked him or not. And I think he proved it by becoming president because he just thought bigger. And he probably surprised himself. But what he does understand is how to get into the subconscious and root out things that maybe current people don't feel, but maybe their ancestors felt. And then pit people against each other to create a design that literally the left and right are both doing, meaning that it's creating chaos on both sides of that. What other politics you are, I believe this is a truth, meaning both left and right are doing it. It's not one side or the other. But what needs to happen is, then you need to think about the Rhodium rule. Is think about the entire ecosystem. No longer do our representatives think about the entire constituents. So when you start thinking about the ecosystem, one, if you don't, and this is what I feel most about this, and what I tell leaders, like, I'm coaching an energy company CEO, and if you don't think about certain groups of people, it will come back and haunt you. So right now, it's better to think about the entire ecosystem, do the right thing, even when no one's looking. And I think that's part of this exponential theory of being more conscious. And it's also part of thinking bigger. Because a lot of times we get caught in traps of our little circle or our little tribe. And this goes back to history of tribes, where in the end, we all now live in a much bigger world that's all connected. We can no longer think that way. And I think that's being proven out every day. And literally from Occupy Wall Street to the Arab Spring to all kinds of numerous things that have happened over the last 10 years. So again, I'll reiterate, exponential theory was really written when leaders focus on solving big problems, they become more conscious. One thing out of this, being more conscious to me means being a warm, decent human being. It doesn't mean that you have to be funny all the time or warm in the sense that you're always like happy-go-lucky and all these things. And I don't think that that's even possible. What I think is that you're in touch with your emotions. And when you're angry, you know why you're angry. And you can deal with it to not make yourself fragile. Because I'm going to tell you, the world's a lot better place when you're not fragile. Like yesterday, I drove to Mesa to a business meeting at 7:30. I never take business meetings at 7:30 a.m., by the way. But I just had a check on the other end of it. So I drove to Mesa. And I was in traffic. So I know why I don't drive at 7:30 a.m. is 3 people. I'm a Tesla. I'm a speedy driver. I'm going 77. 3 people come up behind me, going at least 80 or 90, and then whip, kind of lean in me, flip me off. And all I can do is just smile. So I don't know what to do, because they're like, why would I let that bother me? Now they're out of my way. After the third, I was like, okay, this is a story I have to tell tomorrow, because I'm going to tell them that I'm not going to take any meetings in the morning when you want to have coffee. It's got to be later than 9 a.m. It's the other part of that story. But it's the fact that when you would let someone You know, I actually understand about beeping your horn. If someone's going 45 on the freeway or 55 and they're going to cause an accident. But like really getting, you know, aggressive, that is inside of them. That's not you. And I think so much of being conscious is to be aware that most of what people say and do is not what they think of you. So this is when you stop caring about what people think, because you realize that everyone's dealing with their own stuff and most people are just thinking about themselves. When you become more conscious and you think about the group or other people, my only thing to that person is if I smile or even give the peace sign, it's like, I'm gonna get peace. When you do that, maybe that makes them more mad, but that's their program. And I think what's important though is that's a physical manifestation of anger. For what reason? Am I supposed to just get off the side of the road when someone's coming through? And I think it's just a story I wanted to share because I think it's such an easy story. Like if you have road rage, if any of you have road rage, understand that's a symptom of a lot of other things that you have to become aware of. And we're going to talk about those because that's really your consciousness. It's not to say that, like I said, you have to enjoy your emotions, but actually know why you have them.